Dr. Patrick Dakum, the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Human Virology of Nigeria, has said that based on the survey done by the Nigeria HIV AIDS Impact and Indicator Survey, it is good news that Nigeria has recorded 1.4% of the then recorded 3.4% of the prevalence of HIV in the country. He said that this shows that a lot of effort is being put in place to prevent, care and treat people living with HIV.
This was a survey that was initiated by the government of Nigeria, the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, and of course the Federal Ministry of Health. You will note that Nigeria has been responding to the issue of HIV/AIDS in terms of treatments right from 2003. And before then, there were no drugs that were available. But after 2003, drugs were available, and subsequently, surveys had been carried out, but not very comprehensive, that gave an indication of where we were with the epidemic. And by indication, we are talking about what's the burden of disease, how many people are infected with HIV in Nigeria, because this is a question that is important for us to be able to estimate what our needs will be. Our needs in terms of resources, and resources not only financial but also human resources. And not only resources in those terms but also infrastructure. You definitely need to get that information. Well, the report has been able to give us a general idea of the prevalence of HIV in Nigeria as of today. And happily, of course, we got the news that it's 1.4%. Meanwhile, 3.4% was the approximate figure that we were using. One would not say that, the previous figures were wrong. No. One would say that a lot of effort has already been put in place to prevent, to care, and to treat for people that have HIV. And therefore, for us to get to the point now where we have a prevalence of 1.4%, I think it's good news. It means then that the country needs to use the data appropriately to go after the infection where it is most. And that is why now the data is being used now to reallocate resources and partners to be able to respond to what the report has said. Where are we going in terms of the Institute of Human Virology, Nigeria, in this response based on this survey? Now, one of the things that has happened of recent is the fact that the US government has now identified the areas of high burden of disease. High burden of disease in the sense that the prevalence is high and the current number of people that are on therapy are not many. So you see the gap is big. So it means then that that's where the problem will lie. For example, we know that from the survey, the biggest prevalence is in Akwa Ibom State. It's followed by Benue State, it's followed by Rivers State. So right now, Benue State has had several people that have been placed on therapy. So they still do have a gap, but not as much gap. Akwa Ibom and Rivers have the highest gap. And therefore, two organizations have been identified to saturate those two states. By saturation, we mean scale up identification of people with HIV, placing them on treatment, and ensuring that they are what we call, in science terms, virally suppressed. In Rivers State, for example, the Institute of Human Virology has been identified as the organization to go there and use all the experiences that we have gathered, including new ideas, to ensure that we rapidly identify people in Rivers State, we place them on treatment, and we go ahead and ensure that they are continuing to take their drugs and that they are virally suppressed. And for now, I think for IHVN, for the next 20 months, we are going to be identifying close to about 100,000 people in Rivers State alone that we will place on treatment based on the report of the survey.